How you doing, Mike? Welcome back to TwoWhiteMen. I say back as if like it's my podcast, but I'm your guest on it. But
Thank you for having me, Jake.
yeah, no problem. How's the coffee?
It's very coffee-like,
Yeah.
made with a double espresso and froth lactose-free milk.
Yeah, the tea's nice. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
So what was the first thing we wanted to talk about? Was it
Marvel. I think.
Marvel again? So
Yeah.
basically, this is just our Marvel podcast.
So we're going to be talking about first what I've got to say about Marvel, and then what you got to say about Marvel.
And what do you have to say about Marvel?
Okay, so I've got one story. Apparently, in the Philippines, a few days after Endgame premiered, an illegal copy of Endgame was shown on Philippines TV.
Yeah.
Screened across everywhere on the
Before
TV.
it was-
No, a few days after.
After, okay.
Yeah, illegally put on like national TV.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
like they'd just be flicking through the channel.
Yeah.
ITV.
And then there was like, here's a cam quality, but people were pissed off because they weren't expecting to see Endgame on TV,
Yeah, yeah.
and people were just like, oh, I'll just watch this. Oh, I've just watched Endgame in some shitty quality now.
Yeah, by accident.
Yeah. And apparently there's a whole lawsuit underway. So
By
Marvel.
Disney.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so that's what I've got to say on Marvel.
Oh shit, that's I didn't even know that happened.
No.
No. So ruined a lot of people's view. That's actually talking about people ruining Endgame. Do you hear about the guy? The guy that got beaten, not to death or anything, but got beaten outside a cinema because he shouted spoilers to Endgame.
Didn't hear about that.
No,
but
it was in
go on.
America. I'm pretty sure it's in America. I'll find the article and get it up. And the worst part, well, not the worst part. The funny part of that was one of my friends told me about it, and he sent me a link to it. And he then asked me, "Oh, what do you think?" As if he basically, essentially
God.
asking me, "What do you think? Do you think that they're wrong for beating him?" I said to him, I said, "Obviously." I said, "There's
Well,
never."
it's a debatable topic,
Imagine
really.
He did ruin a film.
Yeah,
you know.
and it's the most anticipated film of like what 5 years.
Yeah, there's no debate. They shouldn't. No one should be beaten for you know. Acts of violence aren't the same as.
He did spoil Endgame.
Yeah, he
so-
did,
Yeah,
but with words. Yeah.
not with
So
violence.
yeah, but yeah. So I don't know that happened.
Well, to be
People
honest,
take it quite seriously.
it's not too surprising that something like that would happen. Like it's a global phenomenon, and it's one of the
It's a global what?
phenomenon.
Alright, I'm just gonna gloss over that word. But,
It is a weird
But
one.
yeah, well, it's been 10 years in the making, hasn't it? I mean, just think about it. I mean, what do you think will be the next Endgame film? Because, maybe even Marvel that do it the next 10 years of their films, creating their next bit. It could be like
I
Galactus
think
or
it's going to be
Doctor
some,
Doom or someone.
No, it's going to be some Star Wars thing. I think again they're going to.
I don't think Star Wars will ever get. I think so long as Star Wars is under Kathleen Kennedy, who's running Lucasfilm at the moment, as long as they remain the same and keep doing the same thing, then they're not going to get to the same height.
Yeah,
Star
but
Wars
there's
as
still
going to
be hype about it though.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, there still will
No.
be hype about it for
Really.
sure. Yeah,
Why do you think Solo barely broke even at the box office?
Yeah, I think
Star
people are
Wars
still just going to watch
was-
like.
Every Marvel film, no matter how bad it is, has always made money, and a lot of it. And there's a lot more Marvel films than Star Wars films. So people, and the time span of when they came out, it is much closer. So if they're not getting enough fatigue from Marvel, but they did from Star Wars.
Or do you think they're just going to pull out money now from it and they're just going to kind of drop it?
Oh no,
fade
they'll
it
definitely
out?
keep making it. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, unless a really good Star Wars film comes out and reinvigorates the fans and moviegoers, then Star Wars is not going to reach the same heights it did.
No,
back
it's
in,
never
what was
going to
it,
reach the same
2017.
heights for
Well,
sure.
no, it should, and it can.
I
but
don't think it will.
will.
I don't think there's any chance it will.
You just said it would. You
No,
started
I'm-
that whole argument.
I
by
didn't say
saying-
it was going to go as much as it did before. I just say it's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, that
that's-
sounds pretty big.
Mm,
Because Endgame is looking to surpass Avatar.
yeah, but
all
I
the
wasn't thinking the same level as that.
Titanic
I'm just
and-
thinking like now with the Marvel stuff, it's kind of
Well, no, I'm talking like next massive.
what
blockbuster
next
film
competing with like the
Yeah.
main titles.
Yeah, because can you think of another a film that, other than maybe Avatar when that came out, that people were like, oh, you must go see this film. This is the big. Have you seen this film yet? Yeah, I
Hmm.
can't.
No.
Star Wars episode, Phantom Menace, and The Force Awakens. They're the only two that I can think of that are as close.
Maybe it's going to be just like the next big thing that's going to be around that. It's not even going to be film. It's just going to be TV for a little while now.
Because Game of Thrones was like that for a bit.
Yeah.
Like the season premiere episodes were shown in a cinema. Some of them, I think like season 5 or 6, something like that. So people would actually go to the cinema to see them. Whereas now you don't watch Game of Thrones, but Game of Thrones is, I don't know, took on a very weird route.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Not
don't
that
watch
you
Game of
wouldn't know,
Thrones. I don't care about it.
It's
Apparently there's some dragons and tits in it, so that's what I've heard.
there's some dragons and a lot of tits.
And apparently a few penises as well.
There's a lot of penises in it.
Yeah, it's softcore porn.
It's basic. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
To move on to a different topic, but still within the Marvel area, they released the new trailer for Spider-Man. I don't know, Far From Home. Yeah, and it's quite interesting to see where they're going to take the MCU now, because a lot of people, myself included, were kind of thinking, how are they going to top, now they've expanded Earth to the whole universe pretty much in the galaxy, how are they going to top that? It seems to me that they're going into the whole multiverse idea, which does seem that it could actually be a lot of like an interesting topic to jump into, because you can have all these different characters that are not part of the MCU or established, who can jump into the MCU now without having to have this long introduction or be rushed into it, kind of the way Spider-Man was. You can sort of just have them have their own story and then cross over into the MCU.
What do you think about them doing X-Men and Fantastic Four then? Because they have the rights to them now, in film rights, Marvel. So they
I don't know.
I think they probably will be included in films
In the
next
future,
10 years
yeah.
to build up to the next big, like Avenger type film.
I don't know if it will be the same though.
No, I don't know if it will be the same, and they won't be called the Avengers.
No.
But do you think that when they do that, they'll redo Fantastic Four, redo X-Men in like a Marvel universe, or just take the existing ones and put them in? Maybe not Fantastic Four, because there's no existing ones to put in. You can't have Johnny Storm, who is Captain America, as
sneak him in, like
the Human Torch.
I don't know. I can kind of see them doing it as a whole new thing, really. Yeah, realistically.
Because they have the rights to them now.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to see a good Fantastic Four.
It's tough though. Every time they've tried it, it's came.
Yeah, it shouldn't be tough though. I mean, just look at the Incredibles. The Incredibles is essentially just the Fantastic Four, but they're related.
Or they're family, Jake. They're not just related.
That is what being related is.
They're not just related. They're a family. So we've got to make that clear.
Well, actually, the Fantastic Four are related as well.
Okay.
Aren't they? Because you got Johnny Storm and
they're like sisters or something like that.
Or Johnny Storm and Susan Storm.
Yeah.
They're brother and sister.
Yeah, I wasn't really a big fan of the Fantastic Four like you, Jake. So
I'm not a massive fan. It's just it'd be cool to see them included, and that way they can have Doctor Doom as one of the villains, or the main villain, because he's probably one of the best villains in the Marvel, universe.
Yeah.
What? I can't see them bringing Galacticus in. Can you?
Well, I've heard rumors about that.
I don't. Galacticus is just a bit too big, a bit too a bit too out there for them to, I think, reasonably display him in film as a threat. When you get that large and your villain is the size of a planet, it's hard to. It's like Dormammu.
Oh yeah, from Doctor Strange.
I think they did that as well as they could, but when you got this big alien thing coming down to attack the Earth and universe,
or do you think it'll be like Silver Surfer when they did Galactus?
It's like, well, you don't really see the threat with Thanos. You go, oh right, that's the threat.
Yeah.
This big creature coming down. Oh, I can't see them reliably doing it.
Oh, you never know. Like, that could be one character that I think could be almost a Thanos level. If you think about enemies, I mean, Doctor Doom maybe, but at the same time,
I'd say Doctor Doom is more threatening than Thanos.
Yeah, but Thanos has got much more of an atmosphere to him.
Yeah, only because of what they did in the film. You know, if they can do what Doctor Doom has done in the comics and what he can do, because he's a ruler and he actually wants to govern because he thinks he's better at governing and ruling and making a good society. And instead of, Thanos' plan is just to wipe out half of, well, and then all, I guess, but
Yeah.
plan, that is very, like, bad guy, but he's
Yeah.
self-righteous
It's
in a
just
way.
how much they
Whereas
can
Doctor
transfer from the
Doom
comics, though.
also has the idea of, I want to make, the world a better place under my rule. So he's a tyrant, obviously. He's not a good guy, but... and he's, highly intelligent. And also with Doctor Doom, they can do the idea of ruling all alternate realities as well, like the multiverse type thing. So he may rule one reality and go, oh, okay, well, I'll actually rule all the different realities and bend them to my will, essentially. He could go that route. And that could be what they're doing for the next big film. I don't know, it's just all speculation. But,
Yeah.
I don't know, personally, I think Doctor Doom would be a good choice. Quite cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be easier to do Doctor Doom than Galactus, though, to be fair.
Yeah, but you need the Fantastic Four, really.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. You just have to... I don't...
Yeah. Okay.
You could do something... No, you could do something similar to how they did Spider-Man. Everyone knows Spider-Man. Everyone knows his origin story. So they didn't... With Tom Holland, they didn't reintroduce him as, oh, I'm learning my abilities, or, They could do that with Fantastic Four. Everyone knows their...
Yeah, but I think to the public eye, outside of comics, really, Fantastic Four is well known, but not as well known as Spider-Man or Superman.
But well known
or
enough that they can go, oh, this is the thing, this is, and go, oh, okay, this is the Fantastic Four. Because there'll be enough in the film that you can go, oh, okay, well, this is clearly the Fantastic Four by setting it up and going, oh, this is the thing. You can introduce them, you just have to do an origin story. And like show them working together as a team.
Yeah, I don't know if people will be pissed off about that though, because it's like even with Spider-Man, people were a bit iffy about it at first, but agreed to sort of.
It's done all right though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's everything we need to talk about on the Marvel situation.
Does this cup leak?
Did you leak the cup?
No, I mean it's got a crack in the bottom, but.
Oh, well then it's a leaky cup then. Okay, anyway, other than the leaky cup situation, we've got a few more topics that we wanted to cover. Men's rights, as always, yeah. And Jake wanted to bring on some issues of trans people doing sports, because, well, apparently, according to Jake, trans people shouldn't be able to play sports, because physically, they're unable to.
That's not what I said at all. I just said...
I'm pretty sure you said that.
I just said, I think it's fine to... If someone identifies as a different gender than what their biological sex is, I've got no issue with that. But when you start competing in, established competition, you can't just. Well, I mean, they're segregated for a reason, men and women, but like biologically by sex.
Yeah.
We have different advantages to each sex.
Well, I think
men are physically stronger through testosterone. Testosterone is one of the greatest, sports enhancements there is. You can't have biological men that identify as women then competing against women. No, because it's unfair to the women. It's taking away their right to compete in a fair, or as fair as it can be.
It's kind of an iffy thing. It's a lot of people just trying to be the best politically correct as possible without thinking about it. They're kind of thinking, how can I make everything inclusive and make everyone feel accepted? But
that's the thing. If you make them included in, like, say you have a biological man compete. For example, we'll ignore biological women competing in identifying as men and competing in male sports because there's not a lot of them in comparison because they just lose.
You can't say that, Jake.
But when you have biological men identifying as women and competing against them in their sports, you're being inclusive to the transgender men or women, but you're not being inclusive and fair to the biological women.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very careful in what I say. To the biological women. And so you're not creating a fair... Let's say you have two biological men that transition and now identify as women. They start competing in the women's
it's not
sports,
fair
they're going to
overall.
win. They're going to come first and second, and so technically now third place becomes first place for the women because they know when they get to race day or whatever, if it's weightlifting, running, high jump, long jump, whatever it is, that
Well,
they're not competing against them because there's nothing they can do to beat them.
what's your solution to the problem? Is the solution to the problem not letting trans women compete in women's sports, or not letting them compete together? Because after they've cut off testosterone from their body, they're not going to be able to compete with men at the same level.
Exactly. So
Or you
I
have
think
some trans sports as its own thing.
yeah, probably you'd have to test it in real world situations. But I think at the moment you just do whatever your biological sex is. That is the realm you compete in. So if you're born a man but you identify as a woman, you compete in men's sports. If you are born a woman and identify as a man, you still compete in women's sports until you start tampering with then estrogen and testosterone levels.
Yeah.
And then, well, it's the same as like doping, essentially.
The only problem with that is because we've already had transgender people compete at professional level sports at this moment, that we can't cut them out because we've had them do it. To say that we only do it by biological thing. I think
that's the problem with when you don't test it and don't try things out. You just try and be altruistic and go, okay, well, we're trying to be inclusive, so therefore we'll let.
I think the best option is just to have their own sports. Kind of like, it sounds stupid, but the Special Olympics,
Paralympics,
it's something like that where they have to have their own, and then they do it based on doses and based on how many years somebody's been on hormones for. So, for example, you'd have to compete at the professional level, you'd have to be on hormones for say 2 to 3 years instead of somebody just jumping in without any hormones, and then they'd have an advantage.
Even with hormones, because there's the argument that so long as your estrogen levels and testosterone levels are within the realms of what current biological women are, then you can compete. But the issue is all the years of testosterone, improving your muscles and and your speed, that doesn't go away.
But it's also the bodies as well, like broader shoulders, hip sizes. It's like the only thing I can think of where if a woman was competing in men's sports and would have an advantage would be a gymnastic competition.
Yeah, like dexterity.
Yeah, so like they have the parallel bars, don't they?
Yeah.
Where they basically it's exclusively for female gymnastics, and it's a mental thing where you're basically swinging around these bars pretty much on your groin area.
Yeah.
And if you're a guy, you wouldn't be able to do that.
No,
so
exactly.
other than that, pretty much every other sport men have the advantage.
I mean, another thing, all you have to do is look at the times and the achievements that both sports are putting out. You don't even have to test it in real life. You don't have to say, oh, well, what happens when we put a man against a woman in like a 100-meter sprint? You can just look at the times. The top 10, like for example, if you took the top 10 male sprinters in the world and top 10 female sprinters in the world, the top 10 male sprinters will finish 1 to 10. And then the top females, there won't be any overlap.
No, there won't be close at all. Or...
Yeah, the top woman won't finish in the top 10 of these 20 runners when you do 50-50 split. So that's why men and women don't compete together in sports like that. There are some sports where they do compete against each other. I don't know if you classify it as a sport, but chess, they do compete together. But even that being said, there are women's chess tournaments. There aren't any men or male chess tournaments.
Yeah.
There are chess tournaments for any sex or gender. And then there are female-only chess tournaments that are just for women. Because even in chess, there seems to be a disparity between men and women in their ability. It could be down to a few things. It could be just down to the opportunity. There aren't as many women in chess. Or it could be down to the way the brain chemistry between men and women, how we think.
Well, it's a complicated thing because you want everyone to compete together, but you have to create it equal.
And chess is probably the closest thing where men and women do compete.
Yeah, having it separate will make it equal. That's,
yeah.
Well, not separate but equal, definitely not that. Okay.
But no, because here's one more thing. Right, I think this highlights it quite well. There's you're like intersex, where people are born with. Well, there's a case. I can't remember when it was. It was in like I think it was like maybe could have been the 60s, and it was in the Olympics, and it was a female high jumper, and she won by I don't know about. Well, I'll look it up and we'll put it on just in case I'm wrong. But it's something like 30 centimeters or 20 centimeters, won by a ridiculous margin, and obviously won gold. But it raised the eyebrows of the officials there, because it's a bit odd that this woman came in, broke the world record not by like 2 centimeters or 5 centimeters, by like a ridiculous amount. It turned out she was intersex, so she was raised as a woman, but was technically biologically more of a man than a woman. So had male.
Where would she compete then?
Well, that's the thing. Where would she compete? If you put her accomplishments alongside the males of the same year, she wouldn't. I don't think she wouldn't have even medalled in that event.
Yeah.
But she dominated and broke world records in the females equivalent of the high jump. So when you have issues like intersex, I think intersex affects, it's less than 2% of the population.
Maybe I just think there should be a whole other middle ground, shouldn't there? Just between men and women. There should just be a people who identify.
But then again, you can't just lump them all together. You can't say, oh well, here's the intersex, here's the transgender. Just go on.
Chuck them together.
have a go.
Yeah, why not?
Then you're gonna have the intersex people that are predominantly male that are gonna beat the intersex people that are predominantly female.
Well, maybe it's sort of like a biological thing where you have people who are biologically born in their gender going against each other, and then it's about hormone levels, and then it's sort of intersex people kind of have their own middle ground, but it's all grouped together.
I think at that point it becomes too complicated. I think what it really comes down to is who are you affecting most? Are you affecting, let's say, if it's like less than 2%, are you affecting or trying to include 1% to 2% of the population, or do you want to include 50% of the population, which is women? Which one do you care more about being inclusive towards? And surely 50% of the population having a fair, competitive environment is better than having one that helps the 1 to 2%.
Just chuck them all out.
I'm not saying chuck them out. I'm saying if you can do their own event or something like that, then I think that would be the best solution we have at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's more important, I think, to get the standard between men and women back.
It's just it's not going to happen anytime soon.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There are sport isn't entirely fair. You have people that have genetic,
where do you stop, don't you?
Like some people have longer limbs, or like Michael Phelps. His torso is ridiculously long. His arms are ridiculously long.
He shouldn't compete.
For
he
man.
should have his own category.
Should have the long arm category. They're things that we don't cross the line at. We don't go, oh, well, you can't compete, Mr. Long Arms.
I think that would be fair, though. He should have his own category, like long arms, longer legs.
Because he's got the same length. He's like 6'2" or 3, something like that, and he's got the same length legs as a 5'7" runner, because he's got long legs for his height in proportion.
Yeah.
Michael Phelps has tiny legs.
Maybe just
for his height.
cut a bit off his time though, because technically,
I think
if he had
like
shorter,
a handicap.
if he had shorter legs and arms, then that means that he would get there less time. So you just cut off.
Then again, with this issue, I don't think there's one right answer. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing that will just solve it and say, oh well, now they can compete in a like women now compete in a super fair environment, whilst all like transgender, intersex, and everything else can now compete.
I've heard this one idea. It's really good. There's like an island. Put them on it. Then they have their own stuff. Let them keep them on the island, and then they can do their events and sport events. Stock it up. We'll be fair. Put like a little.
Where do you want to put this island? Don't say the UK.
No, we kind of got our own thing going with that. We could always. I mean, they got a few off Africa, don't they?
Well, we used to own them, so.
You and me, yeah.
Yeah, you and me.
So I think we just get an island, get a few walls on it. If they want to,
you and I, Mike.
You and I. You and I will get an island. Well, not us. Why am I saying we'll get an island? We'll have an island.
If you want an island, we'll get an island, Mike.
I mean, the podcast budget isn't that big, but
no, not for the podcast, just personal.
Oh, personal islands, yeah. and we stick them on the island, put a little bit of a wall around it, and then say, here's some food and stuff.
Should we get Mexico to build the wall, pay for the walls?
Yeah. I've heard they're pretty good at building walls, and
Yeah.
they did that one
Apparently,
with America.
Yeah,
so.
cool people are getting them. They're
Yeah.
good contractors. They
I
are,
heard that as well. And I think that will solve most of the problems. I don't see anybody having an issue with that. I mean, logically, how could you have an issue with that?
No, I mean, what else do you want to do? Kill them? Can't do that, can you?
God.
That'd be
Rubbish. A bit rubbish.
Just snap your fingers and just say, oh, everyone's equal.
Yeah.
Compete. To be honest, that's what we need to do. We just need to either improve women or make men worse.
Improve women.
In physical, sport.
Okay, yeah, you got to clarify that, but you can't just say improve women.
Improve women at running and jumping and all that stuff, or make men worse, and then just do a category where it doesn't matter, does it?
Well, it would be easier to make men worse, I think. Just chop a bit off, like...
You're saying it's hard to make women better.
I'm not saying anything.
You literally just said it'd be easier to make men worse and for women to make women better.
Okay, let's get on this topic now. Next topic.
Oh, we can't end on that.
Okay, fine, we'll come to a conclusion on
Right,
it.
well, what's your conclusion?
My conclusion...
A serious conclusion, without the joke about the island and making men worse or women better.
My conclusion, apart from the island bit, is to probably have their own trans sports, I think.
Category, but how would you do it? So, let's say you have...
Based on hormones.
So you're going to test all of them.
Yeah.
And make sure their estrogen or testosterone levels are within a certain parameter.
Yeah.
What about men that have been men for, I don't know, 30 years, had all their... had gone through puberty, had all the testosterone for 30 years.
I think there's just going to be a cut-off point where if you haven't transitioned fully at a certain point, then you can't.
So where do they compete?
They don't.
They don't?
No, because they're too old anyway.
30?
Yeah. And then they transition and then they got into sports and they're like 50.
Well, no, they don't get into sport. They are competing and then they transition and then they change.
No, it's too old, really.
No, you can't just back out and say, oh, he's too old.
Yeah.
30 isn't too old.
It is.
How is 30 too old?
Too old for this specific category. Too old.
So you have age categories now.
Yeah.
So you got like 22 to 24-year-old sprinters, 24
well,
to 26.
The way it is, I think you have to say if you've been on like testosterone because you've been born a male for a certain amount of years and then you transition to be a woman. If you've only been, there's got to be some sort of ratio to how long that you've transitioned to be a woman versus how long you've been on testosterone. You can't have people competing who've been longer male, and you'd have to stick it on how many years you've been a male versus how many years you've been a female.
Do you not think that wouldn't happen because it'd be limiting other people and judging them, or basically essentially saying, well, you've had testosterone for this many years, so now you can't compete? Do you not think there'd be outcry?
There would be, for sure.
There'd be outcry if someone drank out the wrong coloured cup at the moment.
Yeah, but I think it's better to have that than to have no sports inclusion, because they do that with certain games of the Paralympics. They do that. They say that you have to... depending on your disability, you have to have it like all be the same area or something like that. There are a lot of specifics around that, I know. I don't know them, but I know there are specifics.
No, I thought you competed in the Paralympics.
Oh yeah, with my 6 foot buff abs. They were too buff, so I joined the Paralympics.
Yeah, because they classify you as disabled.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you're probably right. I think their own class of event, men and women are separate. So return back to the area where we can have men competing against men and women competing against women, biological men and women.
Yeah.
And then the intersex and the transgenders. Would you say the intersex and the transgender people compete in the same? Or would you say the intersex, whichever one they're more born predominantly at, they...
Just a sec. Hold that point. carry on with that point.
I can't remember what I was saying, but we're just going around in circles. But I think if you got to a point where men compete against men, biological men, and biological women compete against biological women, and then we have a separate category for intersex and transgender, I think that'd be a lot closer to. But then again, do people say, oh, then you're segregating them? But then we have Paralympics where you have
we just have to deal with people complaining. That's it.
Dwarfs and dwarfs. I don't know why you looked at me like that. Dwarf. That's the medical term. It's dwarfism. They have dwarfism, and they're.
I wouldn't say that.
No, but you have dwarfs competing in the Olympics, don't you?
Called little people.
They're not called little. Are they? They're not.
Yeah, they are called little. You call them little people.
Yeah, you don't call them midgets. I know that. But you call them.
I wouldn't even say the M word. Not on the podcast.
The what word?
The M word.
Alright.
Oh, that word either.
But they are dwarfs. Yeah. It's dwarfism that they're afflicted
I think
by.
not magical though.
That's not.
Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they're not magical.
they seem magical.
But I think the technical term is little people.
I mean, I don't.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't think it is.
That's socially acceptable. It is, yeah.
Maybe it is socially acceptable, but they are also dwarfs.
Yeah. Okay. We've moved past the dwarfs now.
Have we? Doesn't sound like it.
Let's move past the dwarf stuff. So yes, they're dwarfs and little people.
Yeah,
Go
okay,
on.
Sure. So Paralympics, you have different categories for different abilities and like disabilities.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So you just do that. I have to do the same for transgender and intersex. I just don't think there's an answer that will please everybody.
No.
Well, the thing is, you can't please everybody.
There never will be.
But I don't see how people can have an issue with biological men competing against biological men and biological women competing against biological women. Why do they think that is unfair to people that aren't biologically?
People that think that, they're not thinking about it properly. They're just trying to think a bit mentally deficient. They're just thinking about, oh, how can we make sure everyone feels accepted? That's the end of it.
But then they don't think about the other 50% of the population, the biological women, that now have to compete
I think
against and lose first place medals and now only get third or fourth.
A lot of people are just thinking about it as if it's almost like it's like the gay issue. It's kind of saying like, oh, trans people are here just like gay people are here. Just we got to let them compete like everybody else. But it's way more complicated than that.
Yeah, not if they have clear
they
advantages.
will have advantages.
Because having testosterone is actually more beneficial than having steroids. If you don't have, let's say you have a woman that's never doesn't have the testosterone levels that men do, giving her the same level of testosterone men do, from before puberty and going through puberty with it, that would benefit her body more than it would if she was doping as a female athlete. That is the level we have to breach and have to come to an actual conclusion towards. Because that is
it's just people just trying to be nice and they're not thinking about logic. It's
just
stupid.
People trying to be nice. I think that's just the issue.
Yeah.
In the West, it's just everyone is trying to be as politically correct as they can. Not everybody. This is people with a public sphere or people that in the public eye.
Yeah.
The average person still isn't. I don't think is too
PC.
Is too conscious about what they say in terms. It depends where they are.
Yeah, it really does. And
it does.
I think at the moment it's annoying that it's so much in the public eye, because at the same time it's a good thing and the other time it's a really bad thing because it's dividing people. You don't have people making their own opinions. You have these almost martyrs which are just controlling people and saying like you need to either think this way or you need to think that way.
Here's the thing. I know a guy that he was at work, right? And he's white, like you and I.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And just so we have the context, and he did he was talking about Black Panther with some people, and they were talking about the film and how they enjoyed it, and he's saying he enjoyed it as well. And then he did the Wakandan accent, an African accent. Right?
Yeah.
And they went, oh, like be careful who you say that in front of. You shouldn't be saying, shouldn't be doing that. And he didn't say anything to them. He just. The next 15 minutes, he said, after he left them, because it was just like a short exchange with them, he was thinking, well, what was wrong about what I just did? He's really trying to work out, because he thought, oh, have I done something wrong? And essentially, what they think is wrong is him doing an impression of a culture
They think it's like cultural appropriation.
Essentially.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If he did an Australian accent, If he went, oh yeah,
All right, go for
right.
that. That's the
If he
Australian.
if he did an Australian accent, do you think that they would say, "Oh, careful, careful, you say that around"? Because
It's
he's
just
not
touchy
Australian.
though, isn't it?
He's English, right?
Yeah.
Australia and England have different cultures. Him appropriating Australia's culture is the same as him appropriating an African
Yeah,
culture.
it's
But it's not socially acceptable to do it to an African culture, but it is to Australia or like a Kiwi or like New Zealand. That is socially acceptable or politically correct for us to do that.
yeah. Well,
But
that's
why
just the
is
thing.
that?
They're just sensitive around that. They're because the history. That's why. I mean, logically, if you want everyone to be evil,
But that's not
evil,
even that's not even true. Because what about us doing a Japanese accent? What's the history between the UK and
I think
Japan?
like
Or the
a
history
Chinese or Japanese accent is still viewed as being quite bad now.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
But why?
Maybe it's kind of like the
And
whole thing with
Australia
immigration.
Doing an Australian accent isn't. We've probably done
Well-
worse to. Oh, about Irish, right? The UK and Ireland. I think there's more history there, and especially negative history on the part of the Irish hating the English. And for us to do an Irish accent and that to be politically, it's fine. That'd be socially acceptable in our political climate at the moment. Why would it then be?
Well, just got to think it's very much in the
Is it
eye of
just
the
race?
public. No, it's very much in the eye of the public. I think that's the way I'm thinking about it. Because you got to think when people talk about cultural appropriation, they're not talking about other cultures like Ireland and Australia. They're talking about primarily Native Americans or African people. That's where they're talking about it. They're not talking about it.
Yeah, but I think that's just a very naive viewpoint. Why is there a focus on them?
That's just where it is in the media.
Is it because they think they have it worse off than everybody else because it's a developing country?
It's
continent?
a minority thing. That's what it is. It's just minorities in these Western cultures. It's not other cultures that are saying about cultural appropriation. It's about these Western countries that are calling it out.
Australians in the UK are a minority.
Yeah, but you can't see an Australian, can you?
Of course you can.
You can't.
You got the big hat on with the corks.
You can't say that.
You got the big knife.
That's not.
Oh,
Knife.
that's not a knife.
Yeah.
That's
You can't do that then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think it is just a minority thing, and it's being able to notice a minority more.
Yeah, but again, it's not a minority.
Why?
Well, because Australians are a minority.
No, but
Irish are a minority.
You can't
Everything
see
that-
an Australian or an
someone
Irish
that-
person
well,
notice them.
But you can't see someone specifically from one country in Africa or an
No, but that's
Indian
just what
person
it like. You got
or
to generalize it.
Chinese
That's what they think of
person
it
or
as in a general term. They think of it as like.
how? For example, let's say you have a third generation Chinese family, right? Their kids have been born. Like, I've got some friends that they're English, right? They look Chinese.
Yeah.
They talk in Mandarin as well, but they are English. They're born in England. They have an English accent, right? You would look at them and go, "Oh, they're Chinese," even though they're Chinese heritage. Yeah, sure, but they're British. They're English,
Yeah.
right? So what's the difference between that and an Australian? An Australian actually isn't English, but you look at them and think they're English. You see an English person that was their family originated in China 3 generations ago, but they're actually English. But appropriating their Chinese culture, or assuming that they're Chinese as a minority is fine, even though they're British, and then you've got the Australians which aren't actually British, and you assume they're British, that is fine because they're white or they look. 'Cause I think now being English, you're not just white. We're not white British. That's why we have the different categories of white British, Chinese British, whatever.
At the end of the day, that's just the way people are seeing it in the media. That's just
the left. Yeah, basically, people saying, "Oh, we have to," these people are minorities, so therefore, I mean, everybody's minority because you have the majority.
Oh, this podcast got very political very quickly.
Yeah, it didn't take long, did it?
No, okay. I thought we were just going to be talking about men's rights and stuff, not get political at all. But
Men's rights is political.
I don't know. Okay, so
What were the men's rights you wanted to talk about?
Let's see. There was a few stories up recently. Apparently, this man's life was ruined. He lost his job, his wife, and his reputation because he stopped to help a woman in trouble.
That bastard.
That bastard.
It deserved everything he got.
And she lied about it. Yeah.
She lied about what?
Well, apparently he was accused her of a sexual assault after
he accused her.
No, she accused him. Yeah, that wouldn't get
right,
into the courts.
So start from the top. So this is the man that has seen a woman. Was it a car broke down? Is that
yeah?
that
Well,
story?
apparently she was in an accident.
She was in an accident. He pulled over, helped
her out. Yeah.
by calling emergency services.
I think he actually fixed it. He worked on the car a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and then later she was able to drive off, and then she accused him of apparently sexual assault.
Yeah.
And then later some CCTV footage was recovered, and apparently nothing happened, and he was released from prison. But
he went to prison.
Yeah, apparently for that.
See, that's something I've heard about. You know, it's innocent till proven guilty, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of matters where it's like civil cases or like criminal cases, like specifically like this, but in civil matters, specifically like in marriage and stuff, if you have like assault or something or violence, from like to the man, to the husband, to the wife, it's quite often it's up to the man to prove his innocence, not the woman to prove his guilt. Like they'll write their case and all, give all the evidence that they have, which is, on this date this happened, there's this witness and, all that. Then it's up to the man to prove he's innocent. And in cases like this, you can understand why it's like that. Because if it was up to the woman to prove he's guilty, he has to make reasonable doubt that it didn't happen. I understand that. But when you got people that have just met, that, and it's her word against his, why does it then he has to prove his innocence? Because how can he prove his innocence without like video evidence?
Well, I don't know, Jake. I don't have these answers.
Well, clearly it doesn't work because he went to prison, lost his wife, lost his job.
Yeah.
Because she, what was the reasoning behind it? Does she admit?
Yeah, she admitted it in the end. Apparently, the Good Samaritans spent 2 weeks in a maximum security prison.
Maximum?
Yeah, that's what it says. What's it? Days later, the woman claimed the guy stalked her and indecently assaulted her. And he spent 2 weeks in prison, lost his job, and is going through a divorce. All charges were dropped against him after the woman admitted to lying. And it's quite interesting because I saw this book that was making the charts recently, and it was all about how to ruin a man's life. And it literally,
not hard.
No, literally, the book will talk about false rape accusations, and it's on shelves, and it's out there, and people can just buy it. You can buy it on Amazon, and yeah, at the end of the day, all literature should be able to read, but it's painted as if it's like this pro-feminist thing. Like, yeah, it's good, and it's you can't do that.
How to ruin a man's life?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
That's it's just I think a lot of the I don't know. It's just
all this stuff just annoys you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just
very annoying.
It's just so it just seems so unjust,
Yeah, it makes you worry about being a guy in the world because you see all these things.
That's not even the thing. I would never not help someone. If I saw anyone broke down with their car's broken down.
Would you be able to fix it?
No, I'm saying I would help. If no one was there to help, I would help. There was a guy, I got home. Oh, what was you and I? The guy that I forgot I was with you.
Forgot I was there.
Yeah, there's a guy that had passed out in the sun. Pretty sure he was drunk
and homeless.
Homeless, yeah. And we went to check on him.
But we couldn't tell he was homeless at first because he was wearing these ripped jeans, and we just thought he was like a trendy guy.
No, he was very clearly homeless.
He wasn't at the first. When we first saw him,
he was missing a thumb.
He wasn't missing a thumb, was he?
He was, yeah. He had like a sock.
I thought that was just a glove.
It was a sock.
Yeah, same thing.
Anyway, so we gave him water, and I called an ambulance for him immediately. You know, I would never not do something like that. If that was a woman that was lying there, I would never go, "Oh, what if she accuses me of rape?" you know, I don't care. I prefer to make sure that whoever I've just found, I can help them, and, get them, out of the situation
I
that
think
they're
that's
in.
the way you should be about it.
But I feel like I'm sure there are some people out there that now wouldn't do that. There was a story in China. I don't know how many years ago I read this, but a good 4 years ago probably. And a guy, I know, was in an accident in China, like knocked off his moped or motorbike or something, and he's in the middle of the road for like over an hour with it's a very busy road, lots of traffic, the cars continuously going past, and whoever knocked him off just drove off. And it took over an hour and a half for someone to eventually pull over to help him, because everyone was worried that if they pulled over to help him, that he would then sue them for any injuries, and that he could say that they were the one that knocked him off, and that they were the people that caused his injuries. And so it took an hour and a half for someone to stop and help him.
Yeah.
And that is what we essentially could be moving towards if we keep having cases like false rape allegations and stuff like that. It's like what's the men's rights thing? The men against...
MGTOW.
Yeah, that. What?
Men going their own way.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you see it again. Well, that's why that's the thing. That's why that's now established in some men's lives, and why some men follow it. I mean, I still don't, and I wouldn't.
It's just at the same time, it's a risky world that we live in, but you kind of have
gotta
to
be
do
smart
what you
in what you
believe
do.
is right.
Yeah.
You have to do what you believe is right, and it's like this other story where a 16-year-old girl lied that she was sexually assaulted in the bus, and she pointed to a 62-year-old man, and he was apparently beaten to... It says beaten to death here, but I imagine he was beaten close to death, because you don't know full story with this. But I think at the same time, you feel angry against the girl who's like, oh yeah, she pointed at the guy, but she's only 16 years old, and she could have been heavily influenced by a lot of media, things like that book, feminist propaganda, where they're like, oh, if somebody does this, then point at them. And I don't think the man necessarily might have been sexually assaulting her, because apparently she clearly made it up, and there's CCTV footage of what happened, and it could have been just a few comments that weren't appropriate or something.
Or maybe he was being pervy. We don't know. Maybe he was being a bit
but
odd,
not sexual assault.
Yeah, and still, I don't know about you, but let's say someone pointed on the bus and said, "This guy just sexually assaulted me."
Yeah, nobody would care if we did it.
No, what would you do? You're not going to start beating the crap out of him, are you?
No, it's
the most you'd go is call the police. That's it.
It's like there was this other story which really...
Even restraining him is against the law. What you citizens arrest.
Yeah.
It's just absurd, isn't it?
There's this other story that's reminded me of it, where basically this man was grocery shopping in America, so I'm calling it grocery shopping.
Yeah, I was gonna...
Yeah.
A bit odd.
With his wife, and he had his kid.
Yeah.
And basically, he was walking outside with his kid, and he was going to take his kid to the car while his woman was bringing the rest of the shopping in.
His woman?
His woman. Using the right terminology. And, then there was another woman, not his woman, who was outside at the same time.
Owned, yeah.
No, not. And she was like, oh, it's a cute baby.
Well, she got off the leash.
Yeah.
His woman.
Whoa, Jay. Too far. Okay, so back to the story, yeah.
Yeah.
He was walking outside.
This man was walking around with a child unattended.
No,
that's a crime.
He was attended to the child.
No, that's a crime. Men can't walk around with children. That's a crime, because men are bad people and rapists.
That's true. He wasn't attended by a woman, so...
Wow. Yeah. You need the woman there to go, oh, no, it's all right. He's with me.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty much that situation, because... He got outside, and there was a woman who's like, oh, very cute baby, very stereotypical situation. Yeah. And she's like, oh, can I hold him? And then he's like, yeah, that's fine. And then she sort of slowly started to walk away.
What?
With his kid. And then when he was trying to get
his kid back,
she shouted, like, this guy is trying to take my kid.
What?
And people jumped on him. and then held him back and held his arm behind, and
Oh
apparently...
my god! Whilst this woman's stealing his kid.
Yeah, and apparently, like, his arm was dislodged or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, not something
It doesn't
really
take
serious.
much. If you
No.
put your arm behind, you only have to push it up.
And there are these people who are like, oh, you know, I'm saving this woman, and then she
People-
almost got
people
away.
Are idiots.
It is.
Yeah. You run in there and you ask, what is happening?
No, it's just...
You don't just run in there and go, I'll take him down.
Well, you see, like, a woman with a kid, running away from, like, a big, scary man, and then that was the situation, and it's only until his wife came out of the shop.
I was like, where's my kid? What are
Yeah.
you doing to my husband?
Yeah, and then what's annoying as well is the fact that, like, all the people that assaulted this guy, they kind of sort of brushed it off, like, oh, you know, I did what I thought was right, and it's just like, you don't just assault people because of some word somebody said.
No.
You don't jump like, oh, I'm protecting a small little woman. I mean, it's like, that's kind of a scary thought that somebody can just go in there and just use the advantage of being a woman. And there's advantages being a man and women, but certainly the understanding that if you're a woman...
societal advantages, we don't really have any.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit here and there. I think especially if you're a woman, you have that advantage of, like, people don't suspect that you've done anything wrong, and people always are generally nicer. But at the same time,
then again,
women
I
do get
think-
treated like kids. That's the only thing.
I think women have the issue of, when you're having like a debate about something, a lot of the time, and this is a subconscious effect. I've read about this. You probably have heard of it as well, where other people tend to take note in high stress situations, especially take notice of what a man is saying over a woman subconsciously. It's not even a choice.
Yeah.
They tend to listen to what the man says. Like, let's say you had a man and a woman. Let's say you're in a building and it's caught on fire, and the man says, "Go out. We need to go out that door," and the woman says, "No, we need to go out that door."
Yeah, I think I saw the same exact thing you did.
According to what research would suggest, which you have to take with a pinch of salt, grain of salt, that most people would go through the door that the man suggested, because subconsciously you just believe that the man somehow knows or somehow know that. So I think women have to face that in work a lot as well, where they have to try and prove what they're saying or that they know what they're talking about. Whereas with innocence, I think people assume innocence on women's part a lot more than they do on a man's part.
It's that whole thing of, like, it's kind of like women get treated almost like children in a way, and there's an advantage to that, and it's a disadvantage.
Yeah, like the disadvantage I just
exactly. The example
said, there are disadvantages and advantages to both, but the issues that we just talked about, they're massive. That they're ruining people's lives.
Yeah.
To that level. There are some people, like the disadvantages with women that I just explained.
Yeah.
That could affect people's careers a bit, and slow them down in their progression or something like that. It's not the same, not an immediate threat as a man having his child taken away and then being beaten up because they think he's the perpetrator.
It's ridiculous. But it's kind of, you just have to acknowledge that
Where was
both
that?
genders have
That was
issues.
America.
Yeah, that was America.
Of course.
You just have to understand that both genders have disadvantages, and it's really hard to stay on a middle ground at the moment, because there's a lot of facts on both sides, and people are just, generally where you get these facts from is hardly anybody is on the middle ground. I think one of the people I look to who's got kind of a solid middle ground is Cassie J, who did the documentary The Red Pill. And she's came from a big feminist background where she's done a lot for women's rights and women of colour. And then after making the Red Pill documentary, she's seen the way that feminism is at the moment, and she doesn't want to associate herself with being a feminist anymore. So the thing with that is that she's come from both sides, so she can try and find a middle ground, instead of like a lot of people just sticking with how they started going into the gender debate. And sticking to that, and then anytime there's a little bit of it, is it a bit iffy, I don't trust it, but sticking to your guns, you've always got to question everything you think.
Yeah. I mean, also, you get a lot of the time where people like to essentially just live in a vacuum of their own...
No, it's like an echo chamber.
Yeah, what they agree on, so they just like to see people saying the things that they agree with and hearing the same things that they agree with, instead of getting their opinion challenged.
That's why this podcast is good, because we have very different views.
I mean, I think we do have different views over some stuff.
I'm not sure.
I can't necessarily think of one right now.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I think all gingers should be exterminated.
And I think if you play the piano, you're an idiot. So.
Right, yeah.
Badminton is for suckers. It's just rubbish tennis.
Yeah, I'll take that back.
It's slightly slower tennis.
It's faster. It's the fastest racket sport in the world. Okay, right?
Okay, fine, whatever. You know, badminton's rubbish, really.
It's not. It's an English invention as well, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it could have been invented in multiple places over the world at like the same time, or same like 100 years or 100 years earlier in China or wherever. But we named it badminton first.
Which means that
we invented it. Yeah, everybody knows that.
It's like, tea is a Chinese invention, but we came up with the English word for it.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's like fish and chips. Like we came up with chips because
exactly.
We're good.
And then we just took all the other food from the other cultures.
Yeah.
Like Indian, Chinese.
As soon as you put an English name on it, it's
there you
ours.
go. That's pretty good. Yeah, take it. We'll have that. Otherwise, we'll just have beans and toast every day.
Yeah.
I had off topic, but it's on topic of food. But I went for a run, and when I got back, I'd for some reason I just fancied chocolate and bananas. So I had toast with Nutella on.
Yeah.
And then I had chopped up bananas on top of that. And it's like melted, and it was disgusting, but great at the same time.
It doesn't sound great.
It was really good if you like bananas.
Well, it's like chocolate. When I tell people what I have for breakfast, I always have a bagel, a bit of butter on it, some cheese on top of that, and then I have pieces of chicken breast. And they're like, "What? That's weird."
And then the tears of women.
Just like in your cup of tea in the morning.
Yeah, that's how I love it.
Gives us our energy, our sustenance.
Yeah. Tears of black women.
Oh God. But yeah, people think that's weird to have chicken on a bagel, but I think
what's wrong with having chicken on it? I mean,
everyone I've talked to say it's really weird. I mean, to be honest, turkey works better because it's kind of like healthy breakfast because turkey's a healthier meat.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought chicken was healthy.
No, turkey's way healthier than chicken.
It?
Yeah.
How so?
It just is.
How do you know? Cite your references.
It's just common knowledge that turkey's healthy.
It's not common knowledge.
It is common knowledge. Do I have to Google this?
Yeah, you have to Google it because I'm pretty sure that when people try and eat healthily, they basically just plain chicken, with like salad and nuts and stuff like that. So chicken is the meat that they tend to go for, not red meat. And turkey just seems like a odd choice. Also, turkey is one of the...
When it comes to calories and fat, turkey's the clear winner. It's mainly just about like calories and fat and like protein percentage versus fat percentage.
Yeah, but fat and calories aren't a bad thing.
Jake, I didn't write these things, but apparently turkey is more healthy than chicken. That's like...
But healthy in what terms? Because if you're trying to cut down on calories...
I think just it's about fat or something. Portions. It has more protein. I don't know the statistics. All I know is just like that's what people say about it. I'm not trying to be healthy and eat specifically turkey over chicken, but turkey on a bagel does work.
Because you eat chicken on a bagel. So
yeah, but turkey works as well, and turkey's quite nice. It's a bit more pricey, but
I know I find turkey a bit dry.
Yeah, maybe it's been cooked wrong.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But what are we talking about?
I don't know.
What were we meant to be talking about? What did we?
Well, I think we were just going on like a few men's rights things. That's what we were talking about. Then we went off onto like what you ate before with bananas, and then I went on to what I've had.
No, but how do we get on to me talking about what I ate?
Oh, you just brought it up randomly.
No, I didn't.
You did.
You were talking about.
You did bring it up randomly. You're like, this is off topic. You actually
said
that.
I did say it was off topic, but it was slightly related.
Nah, I think we were talking about things that British own and tea.
Oh yeah.
Then we got into beans and stuff. I got another chess set as well, if you want to see.
Yeah, go
for the chess feature, just like last time.
We have a game live now.
Oh yeah. If we can have a game of pool as well.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, so apparently this is the world's smallest chess set, if I can get it up.
Alright.
Or if I can.
Okay,
here we go.
Take your time.
tiny, isn't it?
Did they get the pieces out at all? Did they ever get the pieces out? Like on the board?
Yeah. Did you not see it?
Well, I saw them closing a little drawer.
I think it's the internet. It's basically they're about the size of a pencil tip, extreme small or milled. Yeah.
How do you move?
Oh, you don't play it. I don't think.
Oh right.
I think if you're gonna play it, you'd probably use tweezers.
It's still too
Like,
big for like a
that's kind of-
dollhouse.
Gives you an idea on it. Yeah. It's. I think it was just pretty much made for the point of
Making a small chess set.
Yeah.
I'd play that. I'd play on that.
Yeah.
It'd be. Yeah.
There's no logic to it because you could just have it on your phone. Like there's no logic to
Yeah,
actually
but
having a
chess
measure,
is always better on a board.
even if you're moving the pieces with
With it.
tweezers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Might be a bit fiddly and might stress you out a bit, but
Yeah.
What?
I think you'd always be worried about knocking the whole table over.
yeah. But yeah, was that all the topics we wanted
I
to
think
discuss?
that is all the topics we wanted to discuss.
Alright, how long have we been talking for?
An hour.
An hour. Yeah, do you want to
Yeah, we can end it.
see it? Alright, well, cheers for talking slightly off topic about everything, but
Yeah.
I think we covered
Some
everything.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
This would. Okay. Cool. This is a bit of a weird podcast.
Is it?
Yeah.
You think so?
It's the second one we've ever done, so
Yeah.
it's a bit weird in contrast.
Do you think this one was less straight line than the first?
Yeah, definitely. Like the
Yeah.
first one, we had like a list of stuff.
See? Oh, we
pretty
do
fun.
agree on everything, I guess.
Okay.
I think next time, actually, should we find a topic that we actually disagree on? And
Yeah.
you
Even
know, whether
when
women should have the vote. That'd be.
Oh God. See, even when we're disagreeing about topics, just in this podcast, we're not disagreeing about them. We're just saying the same things, and it's like we're ranting at each other
Yeah,
about our opinions.
basically,
And then
yeah.
we're both like, "Yep, I also agree."
It wasn't a
with
well
that point."
thought out podcast, was it? Because essentially, we just bring up a topic, and then we both bitch about how
Yeah.
we find that topic annoying.
Yeah.
And say, "Oh, this is the issue." "Oh, yes, Mike, that is the issue." "I think this is the issue."
No, this
Yeah.
one didn't have as much structure.
No, certainly not. But it was still good chatting with you, Mike.
Okay.
Thanks
so
for.
there you go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Catch us next time for another aimless topic, I suppose.
This has been the Two White Men podcast. Da-na-na.